As promised on Friday, to give you updates on the individual 11 to 12 wins against the Trump administration. This is the start. I hope you had a happy Easter for those of you who celebrated. I had a great time this weekend with family and friends and celebrating and taking my mind off of this. I went to do lots of fun stuff. So it was really great. So now I'm back. So I'm going to give you some individual updates on every single one of those cases. We're going to start with the Alien Enemies Act. That was the reason and the purpose for the United States Supreme Court stopping the Trump administration from summarily deporting Venezuelan immigrant migrants to which the Trump administration declared were members of a gang without providing them due process opportunity to present evidence that they are not indeed part of the gang. It's all about individual and constitutionality. For those who don't know, and you're going to hear people say this, no matter what people say, the Constitution of the United States guarantee any resident, someone who's living in the United States, whether as a visitor, whether they are in the United States as a temporary resident, a permanent resident, someone here on a temporary protective status, someone here on asylum, someone here who has been given a work permit and was waiting to hear back on whether or not they should stay or not, they are entitled to due process, meaning that our government cannot summarily pick them up and take them to another country, a torture camp, and just accuse them of something without evidence. And if we allow that to happen to people who just happen to be here, no matter how you feel about illegals, that can happen to you. And Donald Trump was caught in a hot mic telling the president of El Salvador to get ready more prisons because he's ready for homegrown. So now we all know it's not just about, at first, if he is allowed to do it to them, he can do it to you guys, because you know the man is crazy. And he's surrounded by a bunch of yes men, goons, inept, unqualified, don't know what the hell they're doing, cosplaying a functioning government. Because this is what it looks like when you cosplay something. It's just, it's like it's Timu. This is the Timu version of government. Anyway, I digress. Anyway, so where were we? Now, the Supreme Court told the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals Solicitor General to give an opinion because the Supreme Court granted the ACLU's emergency relief. The reason why the ACLU had to go to the emergency is because the Trump administration, as I said before in the past video, there's a reason why when they arrest people in places like New York, D.C., Massachusetts, that are liberal areas, that they detain them and then they fly them down immediately to the South, to either Louisiana or Texas detention center, because they figure out if those people have lawyers and they have to go on an emergency basis to court, they're going to go to a court that's a conservative court that may not have their back. And that's how they won this time around, because when the ACLU went to the district court and asked for a temporary restraining order, the district court judge said, well, the Trump administration promised not to like ship you all off to Venezuela, so we'll take them. But the Trump administration didn't clarify whether or not they were going to do that to everyone, to the class. Because I've said what the Supreme Court said is you have to have your case wherever you're detained. And so what happens, each place where someone has been detained, the ACLU has asked the judge to create a class, meaning anyone who's currently in detention or currently being held by the Trump administration in their district. So in Texas, they had one in Colorado. They had New York. I think those are three right now. That none of those would be able that what the decision, the court decision, will impact all of them according to the Supreme Court. That's how they interpreted the Supreme Court, saying you can't have a major class. You know who tried to have a class for everybody? Judge Boasberg, Jim Boasberg in D.C. certified class, and he was on his way to issuing the Trump administration contempt of court for ignoring him, saying do not send anyone in the class off on March 15th, when they just ignored him and actually sent it anyway. And that's what the contempt report is over there about that. But he said the Supreme Court took away the rights to me. So with the Supreme Court now, the Solicitor General said two things in his reply that matters. The most important thing, he says that the Supreme Court should not interfere and they came in too soon and they need to leave it to a lower court. And they also said the Supreme Court should not treat this as a class basis. It should be individual by individual. As you know, that's circular reasoning. He did not mention the fact that the imminent harm of the fact that, I'm going to put here, there were videos of the buses on their way to the plane. So that imminent harm, the second part of a temporary restraining order, means irreparable harm. That's an irreparable harm because Kilmar Garcia is showing that once you leave, they don't want to bring you back. So Kilmar is a test case for anybody in America who's ever habeas corpus. They could always use Kilmar Garcia as a reason for meeting that second aspect of the temporary restraining order test when it says you have to have, it has to show that you're likely going to win and you're going to have irreparable harm. So sometimes they lose because they say you may not win, but the irreparable harm is what they usually get hiccup on. It's kind of like you can't prove that. Now Kilmar Garcia says every single person who's filed habeas corpus will always be able to meet that standard because they can always point to Kilmar and say, this is what happens if they send me away. That's it. I'm not coming back, because they're not taking back. So the Trump administration keeps shooting themselves in the foot every single time from tweeting and sending stuff that just gets included in the. They've done this so many times since I've been marking these cases, where they'll say one thing in court and they'll go on Fox News, or they'll go and Carolyn Levitt would say stuff, and they're popping off on social media trying to flex on X, and then it doesn't match up what they're saying in the courts. And the lawyers are like, dude, we're arguing X, Y, and Z, and you're saying this over here. It's not a good look, and it's just not good. We got to be consistent here. But they can't, because they're inept, they're unqualified, they're disorganized, it's disjointed, it's chaotic, it's a mess, it's unstable, and that's why the markets are unstable, and that's why everything's reacting this way. That's why we're disheveled, because we have a bunch of goons who don't know what the hell they're doing, signal chatting to their wife and their brother plans for Yemen strike. Oh my God. So anyway, so that's what the Solicitor General said what he said, and he said it because he's part of the Fifth Circuit, and that's the same circuit that on the appeal level that told the ACLU, we can't hear your case because you have to first go down below. But then their whole argument is, we went down below and the judge said he's busy working on a case. So if it's an emergency case, why are you telling us when we told you it's imminent that our client's about to be deported? You know this is an issue. Even though you're a judge, you know this is an issue. So why would you not say, hey, because they've been sending people off, we can't trust them, we're going to pause. And then for Drew Ensign to say in the district court, he doesn't know, he's not aware of any bus, is he has plausible deniability? Do they not tell him anything? And so he can, with a straight face, as a former partner of a major law firm, with a straight face tell a court, I'm not aware of that, even though you should be aware. At this point, judges, any judge that has Drew Ensign in front of them, do not let him ever say he doesn't know, because your pushback needs to be immediately like, don't come in my courtroom so you don't know, because you know the people you represent, you know what their propensities for, and you know they lie, and you know what's going on. So if the plaintiff says X, Y, and Z, and you say you're not quite aware of that, that doesn't matter. As far as I'm concerned, you're aware of it, because you have the duty. You have a duty to don't come in my courtroom without knowing all the facts. And if they accuse you of something, say, Your Honor, I can't say that for sure. So just go ahead and assume that the answer is yes, because I don't know. But it shouldn't be I don't know, so that means no, it should be I don't know, so don't trust me. Don't trust them, because they ain't tell me. Anyway, so we don't trust Drew. We don't trust the Fifth Circuit Solicitor General said what he said. But at the end of the day, let me tell you how it should go down. This is how it should go down. He said there shouldn't be a class. There shouldn't be. And the reason why they want it to be individual by individual is so they can forum shop and try to bring everyone down to Texas. And also, if they want to be able to violate people's laws, and if you don't have a lawyer, you're just screwed. Some people have lawyers, some people don't. Hey, check out. I have a guide for everyone who doesn't have a lawyer. It's going to be free. I'm going to do a video on it. I'm putting it together. I don't want to start announcing it until I actually put it together. But you go to outlasting47.com. It's going to be there for you. That free guide on what to say to ICE and stuff like that. Look for that soon. They're counting on people not having lawyers so they can just exploit and send people where they can. If you create a class, it doesn't matter if you have a lawyer. That means whoever has a lawyer, everyone is represented by that class. And that's why they don't like the class. That's what they're saying on independent basis. So if you don't have a lawyer, if you have a lawyer, you get pulled off the bus. There's been cases when people were on their way, and because they have a lawyer, the lawyer said, take them off the bus. The people who've gotten off the bus have had lawyers. And the lawyers say, take my client off the bus, and they take them off. So that's why they don't want to do it on class by classes. That's why they want individual by individual basis. And your Supreme Court, I don't even have to tell this, because Amy, Ketanji, Sonia, and Elena are on the good. John, Neil, Brett, come over this side. And let's wrap this up. Let's just say the Alien Enemies Act was meant to be active war. We are not active at war with anybody. We're not at war with Venezuela. So to say we're at war and it's Venezuelan gang, which is not really related to It's not a random gang that just happened to be in the United States. Is not the Venezuelan government, and whatever they're doing is not acting on behest of the to advance Venezuelans advancing this military relationship with the Trump administration or America. That's not what that act was created for. So you have an opportunity, Supreme Court, to nip this in the bud and to say this is a wrongful use of that act, and let's shut it down. What do you think? Let's discuss JJ Legal. Follow here for the more cases, future other cases that I'm going to do.